Who could have foreseen that this single moment would transform my entire existence? It was an unremarkable day, until I stepped into that room. As I caught sight of the door ajar, a stirring within me took hold. In an instant, I might have chosen to retreat, to overlook it entirely. Yet, I refrained, for in that instant of revelation, I understood that everything would change forevermore. Indeed, I bear the blame, for it was I who ignited the spark and failed to extinguish the flames. Once upon a time, in the midst of a bustling day, George found himself immersed in the rhythm of his work. In the stillness of the house, a whisper of sound drifted down from the upper floor, beckoning curiosity. In the quiet confines of his room, Elliot found himself immersed in thought. Initially, it didn't seem significant to me. In this fleeting instant, a young man finds himself adrift in the vast expanse of his own imagination. Yet, perhaps he would enjoy a cup of coffee. A simple chat could be quite delightful. As I ascended the stairs, I pondered the source of the mysterious sounds echoing around me. As I approached his room, I observed that the door was ever so slightly open. I inhaled deeply, ready to summon him, but then my gaze fell upon Elliot. He sat upon his bed, the laptop resting on his lap, its bright screen illuminating his face with a soft glow. His hands danced in the air, and at first, I believed he was merely captivated by something thrilling unfolding before him. Perhaps a thrilling adventure film. Yet, as I shifted my stance, a new perspective unfolding before me, I sensed the color drain from my cheeks. In that instant, clarity washed over me, revealing the true nature of Elliot's actions. As I gazed at the screen, a chilling wave swept through me, capturing my attention with its haunting reflection. I was taken by surprise. I was reluctant to witness this unfold. Elliot hurriedly gathered himself, anxiously turning down the volume on his laptop. Alas, the moment had passed. The moment had already unfolded. As our gazes intertwined, a flush of crimson spread across his face, the embarrassment in his eyes unmistakable. I beg your pardon, he murmured, casting his gaze aside. I stood there, as if time itself had paused around me. The threshold. As I began, a fog of uncertainty enveloped me, leaving me at a loss for the very words I sought to express. A peculiar warmth enveloped me. Embarrassment washed over me. Yet my mind was a whirlwind of elusive thoughts, dancing just out of reach. With a swift motion, I exited the room, my heart racing wildly within my chest. I pressed my hands to my face, seeking to calm the storm within as I struggled to steady my breath. What in the world was that? I softly murmured to myself. What had I just woven into existence? What had led me to such carelessness? However, was I truly the sole one to blame in this situation? Cease this, Darlene, I admonished myself firmly. Yet, the turmoil within me. It was ignited by far more than merely what lay before my eyes. Elliot had reached the age of 23. He had outgrown his childhood. Yet, at 47, I was a woman who had navigated through my own tapestry of shame in life. In a moment unlike any I had ever encountered, a weight of shame settled upon me. Familiar yet foreign, I stood, stopped in the hallway, my heart pounding with intensity. I swept my fingers through my hair, seeking to gather my thoughts and regain my composure. As Elliot stepped into the doorway, he deftly adjusted the collar of his shirt, cleared his throat, and maintained a gaze that wandered elsewhere. Darlene, well, I apologize. I believed I had shut the door, he confessed, his voice wavering yet earnest. I swiftly turned my gaze, shaking my head in quiet defiance. No. And in truth, it is I who ought to extend my apologies. I should have knocked before coming in, I exclaimed, my words tumbling out in a rush as uncertainty clouded my thoughts. Stillness. Yet, this silence held a weight unlike any other. For years, we had shared the same roof, Yet never before had we gazed upon one another in such a way. It was the first moment when an undeniable tension hung in the air between us. I ought to make my way. With a sense of urgency, I made my way downstairs, eager to begin the preparations for dinner, my thoughts racing as I turned toward the stairs. My voice quivered, yet I endeavored to maintain my composure. Elliot remained silent, his gaze tracking me intently, as though he were weaving together fragments of a puzzle in his thoughts. Once upon a time, as the significant events unfolded between Elliot and me, make sure to subscribe to my channel, activate notifications, and immerse yourself in this tale until the very last moment. Mark my words, a thrilling adventure awaits you. Up until that fateful evening, silence hung between us like a thick fog. Unbroken and heavy silence reigns, with no messages exchanged, no gazes meeting, and not a whisper of casual conversation. Yet, in that hush, there lingered a promise that everything had changed forever. During dinner, we found ourselves at the same table, yet our eyes dared not meet. The solitary sound echoed in the air, a gentle clinking of silverware dancing against our plates. It was essential for us to have a conversation to alleviate the unspoken strain that lingered between us. A truth we both recognized, but how, you ask? The night slipped away, followed by the dawn of a new day, and then another after that. All appeared as it should. Yet beneath the surface, nothing was as it seemed. The quiet enveloped us, thickening the unseen tension, a pulse between our hearts, intensifying with each passing moment. And then, on a fateful afternoon, Elliot took a seat beside me. I noticed the flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. Yet it was evident he yearned to mend what was broken. Darlene, the other day, I found myself feeling quite embarrassed. Alas, I never intended for events to unfold in such a manner. Please, I don't want this to ruin things between us, he said, his voice trembling yet earnest. With a deep inhalation, I gathered my thoughts. No matter how peculiar and unforeseen this was, I had to place him at serenity. I smiled, gave a slight shrug, and replied, "Oh, Elliot, trust me, I've experienced my fair share of embarrassing moments throughout the years." In that instant, I unveiled a handful of those cherished moments to him. His smile softened, and he gave a nod, the flush of embarrassment beginning to lift. In that fleeting instant, it felt as though the weight of the tension between us had finally dissolved. Yet, beneath the surface, I was aware nothing had truly transpired. Though the world around us appeared to be improving, this exchange had utterly dissolved the barriers that once separated us, and I could sense it. The moment was on the brink of unfolding into something far more profound. Elliot released a soft chuckle, his eyes drifting down to the table. "I suppose we're on the same page now," he murmured softly. I furrowed my brow and shifted my gaze toward him. "What do you mean?" I inquired, a sense of wonder beginning to stir within me. Narration. For a fleeting moment, his expression transformed, as if he had just come to the unsettling realization that he had uttered words he could never reclaim. He paused, his fingers grazing the back of his neck, caught in a moment of uncertainty. Yet, he had already embarked on his journey. And now, he found himself compelled to press on. He inhaled deeply, then averted his gaze as he whispered, "I've seen you in a manner that mirrors the previous approach. You simply weren't aware of it." A surge of energy coursed through me, igniting every nerve with a vibrant spark. I paused, caught in a fleeting moment. "What is it?" I murmured as the heaviness of his words enveloped me. Elliot's face burned with a vibrant hue, yet he pressed on undeterred. "I never shared this with you," as I felt a wave of embarrassment wash over me. Yet, it lingered in my memory, never fading away. In truth, it was a secret I held close to my heart, a thought that lingered in my mind, refusing to fade away. My heart was thundering with fervor. A peculiar warmth enveloped me, an unfamiliar feeling that whispered of a shift in the air. Elliot's words transcended my confession. They obliterated every boundary that existed between. I gazed upon him. His gaze was fixed on me as well. At this point, we were both aware that this was no mere exchange of words. The atmosphere in the room had grown dense, and a palpable change had swept through everything. From that day forward, a new chapter began to unfold. Once, a chasm lay between us, an unbridgeable gap that defined our connection, that unseen divide that held us at a distance. Yet, in this moment, it seemed as though that boundary had utterly dissolved. Unbeknownst to me, I found myself dedicating an increasing amount of time to Elliot. Fleeting instances, whispers of dialogue that appeared trivial. Yet, in truth, each moment only intensified the strain between us. We found ourselves sitting together, sharing moments as we watched movies. In the past, we maintained a certain distance, yet now, an invisible thread wove itself between us, drawing us closer in a silent dance of connection. It was a sensation that lingered between us, unspoken yet palpable. At times, when Elliot's arm lay casually on the couch, when my hand would lightly graze his leg, or when our laughter danced together in the air, a peculiar sensation stirred within me. Yet, I made an effort to push it from my mind. On a restless night, sleep eluded me. Restlessly, I turned and twisted in my bed. Yet, the turmoil within me refused to grant me peace. Only a single thought occupied my mind. Elliot, a name that carries a world of possibilities. This simply cannot continue. A boundary was essential for me to establish. If he harbored any feelings for me, I needed to express it clearly and bring it to a close. With that thought, I rose from my slumber. My heart raced wildly, a tempest of emotion within me. Yet, my feet had already led me to Elliot's room. The door stood ajar, a sliver of dim light spilling out and casting a gentle glow upon the room within. Upon crossing the threshold, my eyes fell upon him. He lay in slumber. Yet, in that instant, my gaze was elsewhere. They were captivated by another matter. Once upon a time. My breath was momentarily suspended. My body came to a standstill for a fleeting moment. Witnessing him in that state unleashed a tempest within me. I never should have laid eyes on it. In that moment, I should have pivoted without hesitation. Yet, I chose not to. I lingered for a moment, grappling with the emotions swirling within me. In that moment, I swiftly withdrew. Deep within me, a force stirred, one that I struggled to contain. Yet I knew I had to push it aside. I returned to my room, lay down. That everything felt different now. That night, I was blissfully unaware of the tangled web that awaited me. Regardless of my efforts, I found myself unable to deny the deepening bond I shared with Elliot. As the days unfolded, the lines between reality and imagination began to fade further, and the connection between us only deepened. It slipped by me, the moment when everything took a turn. Yet, deep down, I understood that retreating was slipping further from my grasp. And then, just like that, Elliot returned home. He was inebriated. The clatter from the door, the objects he sent tumbling, those sounds had the potential to rouse George from his slumber. Yet, I understood the struggle George faced each morning to rise from his slumber. I swiftly exited my room and made my way to Elliot. Time slipped away like sand through my fingers, leaving me with no chance to mend my tie before I found myself standing beside him. Elliot's gaze drifted, a subtle smile dancing upon his lips. "Darlene, do you truly exist?" He spoke in hushed tones. His words flowed unevenly, touched by the haze of drink, yet carried a genuine weight. I inhaled deeply and seized his arm. "Elliot, let us embark on this journey together. Ascending the stairs in this manner is not permissible. Silence is essential." Yet, Elliot's gaze was firmly fixed upon my face. He smiled gently, his eyes wandering over me with a quiet intensity. You possess a beauty that truly captivates the heart. Have you always been like this, or did it simply escape my attention all this time? For a fleeting moment, I found myself suspended in time. But then, with a surge of resolve, I gathered my wits and pressed on. Elliot, that will do. Step into the kitchen and let me brew you a cup of coffee. With a gentle pace, I guided him toward the kitchen. I was attempting to bring him back to clarity. Yet, the intensity of Elliot's gaze and his words were causing something within me to come undone as well. Elliot settled into the chair as I busied myself with the coffee preparation. In an unexpected twist, the cup slipped from his grasp, cascading its contents across the counter. Elliot, a touch more caution would serve you well, I murmured softly, hastily attempting to tidy up the chaos. Yet, Elliot offered a gentle smile. Have you always possessed this sweetness? With a sense of urgency, I tidied up the kitchen. We had to move on. Our time here had come to an end. George lay peacefully upstairs. Yet with Elliot in such a condition, silence was imperative. Very well. We shall ascend to the upper level. Hush now, I cautioned, wrapping my arm around his and gently leading him toward the stairs. Upon our arrival at his room, his movements appeared increasingly unsteady. He found himself in need of a change of attire, yet he found himself too lost to navigate it alone. Initially, I felt the urge to retreat, but as I witnessed his struggle with the shirt, a natural instinct compelled me to lend a hand. As my fingers brushed against the buttons of his shirt, Elliot's breathing became a gentle whisper. In an instant, the atmosphere crackled with the palpable tension that hung between us. The stillness deepened the intensity. I was fully aware of my actions. Yet simultaneously, I was completely unaware. Elliot was gazing at me with a new light in his eyes. And this was one of those moments. A moment that slipped through our fingers, never to be reclaimed. Elliot paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty as he changed his clothes. He allowed his hands to drop to his sides, fixing his gaze upon me. In that moment, I became aware of the rapid rhythm of my breath. The stillness enveloped the room, the air thick and palpable, each breath a struggle against the weight of silence. I'm not playing this game anymore, Darlene, he declared, his voice gentle at first, yet brimming with conviction. I gazed at him, my eyes unyielding, refusing to blink. My heart raced with intensity. But what was Elliot attempting to convey? Do you find yourself in that state? He added, his voice taking on a richer tone. We crossed paths just that once, and that's all there is to it. Do you really not ponder it even for a moment? It lingers in your thoughts as you drift into slumber. A chill coursed through my body, prompting me to take a hesitant step back. Yet my feet seemed firmly anchored to the ground. Elliot, this doesn't feel right, I said, my voice quivering with uncertainty. Elliot's lips curled into a subtle smile, yet it held a hint of something far from innocent. We moved beyond the moment of choosing what's right ages ago. Darlene. Ceased the self-deception. With the deliberate movement, he advanced a step, and yet another. He was so near now that I could sense his breath brushing against my skin. He extended his hand, his fingers softly gliding across my cheek. My gaze was drawn in, and despite every urge to turn away, I found myself unable to do so, for I felt it in the very core of my being that he spoke the truth. And then, in a moment suspended in time, Elliot's lips brushed against mine. All the stillness, every ounce of tension. In that fleeting instant, the key to all mysteries lay concealed. The whispers of contemplation reverberate within my mind. All at once fell silent, all my uncertainties dissolving into soft murmurs. For I had not stood against Elliot, and the reality was, I had never desired to. My hands shook with uncertainty. Yeah, I remained steadfast, refusing to retreat. Upon witnessing the fierce resolve in Elliot's gaze, it became clear that all secrets had been laid bare. I inhaled deeply, my heart racing as I gently let the straps of my tie cascade down my shoulders. "Indeed, you are correct, Elliot," I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "It's time to put an end to this game." As I drew nearer, I settled back onto the bed, enveloped in the moment. My heart raced within me, yet retreating was no longer a choice I could make. Elliot gently leaned in closer to me. He gazed into my eyes for a fleeting moment, then a smile spread across his face. "Fear not," he urged, his tone enveloping her like a comforting embrace. "All is as it should be." I turned my gaze aside. A chill raced through my veins, though I couldn't bring myself to say it aloud. Deep down, I understood the weight of the time I had spent anticipating this very moment. Yet, I found myself unable to hold back the words that tumbled forth from my lips. "Elliot." A flutter of fear gripped me, my breath coming in quick, uneven gasps, due to several significant factors. "Elliot, I find myself feeling a touch of fear," I confessed, my breath coming in uneven gasps, due to several significant elements. Elliot smiled, brushing aside my words as though they delighted him. Perhaps it was due to the effects of alcohol. Elliot leaned in close, his voice barely a whisper. "We mustn't let George wake up." I understood his meaning. Silence was essential. Uncertainty washed over me, yet a profound sensation stirred deep within, compelling me to stifle the urge to release a sound that threatened to escape. Elliot cast a glance my way and uttered words that resonated. Something akin to, "I understand, Darlene. All is well, and so are you." What was it that he understood? It seemed he had an inkling, and he truly grasped my essence. In a moment of surrender, I found myself unable to resist the urge and gently closed my eyes, with my hands gripping the sheets tightly. A tremor coursed through my body, each spasm telling a tale of tension and unease. I pressed my hands against my mouth, stifling any sound that might escape. Elliot found himself in a haze, lost to the world around him, his mind clouded by the effects of too much drink, leaving him indifferent to everything that once mattered. Indeed, this was having a significant impact on me, the thrill of the occasion intertwined with all that surrounded it, and the undeniable sensation of something monumental. Elliot found himself in a haze, weary and gasping for air, the effects of the night weighing heavily upon him. I exclaimed, "Elliot, you're turning red, and we must hurry." Elliot replied, "All right." He replied, "All right." Yet, he continued down that very path, and ever so increasingly, endlessly, and infinitely. Another contraction washed over me, and in that moment, nothing else mattered. I had lost all sense of who I was. I shut my eyes and whispered, "Whatever you desire, Elliot, whatever your heart desires." Elliot must have found joy in it, for he allowed himself to be swept away. He released all his hold, surrendering entirely, and that was overwhelming. The fire within me burned too fiercely. With gentle care, I placed Elliot in his bed, tucking him in snugly. Then, I secured the door to his chamber. In the stillness of the moment, I yearned for a serene shower, a sanctuary, where I could unwind and let the world fade away. Little did I know what awaited me in the unfolding tale ahead. What had just unfolded, as I stood under the cascading water, my mind wandered to the thoughts swirling within me, a mix of anticipation and a flutter of unease settling in my chest. And yet, as I emerged, a newfound clarity enveloped my thoughts. Strangely, I found myself enveloped in a sense of calm. There was no room for anger towards myself, for my body was as at ease as my mind. In the stillness of the night, I adorned myself in quietude, made my way to the sanctuary of my bed, and surrendered to slumber, as though the world outside had remained untouched by the events that had unfolded. Yet, the reality is, this was merely a fleeting moment of exhilaration, a surge of wild longing. Yet, The truth was that nothing ever unfolded quite that easily. And what about this? This was destined to become more complex as well. The tale continued beyond this point. It was impossible. Grander events unfolded, deeper, more gripping experiences. And in the end, George was destined to uncover all the truths. The tale continues to unfold. Be sure to follow and subscribe, for the next chapter of this tale is one you won't want to miss. Activate notifications and share your thoughts in the comments. It keeps you a step ahead in weaving these tales. Your support is invaluable. And if you've journeyed this far, I appreciate your attentive ear.